Hey everyone, I had a question about how some of the older jazz drummers would play a waltz, and I thought it was a good topic to make a video about because there aren't a ton of recordings of drummers who came up, let's say, before World War II. Those older jazz drummers, there aren't a ton of recordings of them playing in 3/4. So I want to give you a few basic patterns that they would play. I think this will give you an idea, give you something to build off of. I'll show you some with sticks and with brushes on the snare drum and on the cymbals. So let's start out with a press roll in 3/4 time. And I made a video about press rolls a while back, a whole bunch of basic press rolls. And the most basic one was 4 beats with one hand, let's say the right hand, and a little buzz on 2 and 4 with the left hand. So the 3/4 version of that, just a basic version, would be 3 beats with one hand and that little buzz roll with the other hand on beat 3. That's a basic jazz press roll in 3/4. If you hear a drummer like Joe Watkins or some of those New Orleans drummers, Joe Watkins with George Lewis playing Over the Waves, they would often start that out in 3/4 and then go into 4. And that's sort of a basic pattern. And for those rolls, you can do them either with one hand or with both hands, and either a roll that has more of a mathematical breakdown to it or just letting the sticks buzz. And I go into more about that in the other video about press rolls, so if you're interested in that, I explain it a little more there, but there's different ways to do those rolls. But that's a basic one. We'll work at a lot of tempos, 3 beats with one hand, little buzz on beat 3 with the other. And then you can also play around with it. You can throw in some other notes, mix it up a bit. Bass drum on beat 1, and the hi-hat, you can kind of do anything with it really. It's not a huge part of this rhythm. A lot of the older drummers didn't even use a hi-hat even in later years. But you can play it just lightly on either beat 2 or 2 and 3, or even beat 1. I heard Joe Jones play a waltz where he played the hi-hat on beat 1 with the bass drum, and it sounded good. So you can kind of do what you want with that. It's not a huge part of this. If you think even in 4/4, a lot of these drummers, if you see videos of George Wettling, and you'll see him playing the hi-hat on 2 and 4 with his foot, but you don't really hear it. It's very soft. It's not like how it became later on, where that was sort of a dominant sound. So now same thing with brushes. Same sort of thing, but you replace the little buzz roll with a little sweep with one hand. So a basic 3/4 thing with brushes would be so that's just sort of a basic brush version of a waltz that some of these drummers would play. And then George Wettling, moving over to the cymbals, George Wettling, on a great recording he did with Ralph Sutton, the tune Jitterbug Waltz, he played something on the hi-hat. It's just a nice, simple thing, 2 quarter notes and 2 eighth notes. Then he opened the cymbals a little bit on beat 1. Vary it a little bit. So that's one that George Wettling would do for a waltz. And you can do the same thing with sticks. And you can do the same thing on the ride cymbal. He's playing that eighth note on the end of 3. you could move that around. You could play that eighth note on the end of 1. I heard Maury Feld play a waltz like this. And you could put that eighth note on the end of 2. And I heard Cliff Lehman play a waltz like this. So those are just a few basic waltz patterns, and I think you'll see that they're not that different from what these drummers would play when they were playing in 4/4. The press rolls or the brushes, the cymbal rhythms, they're not that different. It's really just a 3/4 version of the same thing. So I hope that maybe demystifies this a little bit. As I said, there's not a lot of examples you can hear of these drummers playing in 3/4, so sometimes it can be hard to tell what they would do in that situation. So I hope this gives you some ideas. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything else you would like to see, and I will be back soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.